now Canberra studio. Actually, he's in his Canberra office. And now, Prime Minister, I think I interrupted you. You're about to respond to something I was saying about the Islamic community in Australia.
Yeah, Richo, look, the problem is not any particular religion. The problem is extremism. The problem is not any particular group of individuals. The problem is criminal behaviour. It is terrorist behaviour. Now, I am sickened, along with, I am sure, every other Australian, by the sort of images that we've seen of individuals' inhumanity in Iraq and Syria and elsewhere. And frankly, we have to take the strongest possible action against that. And believe you me, this government will not shrink from the strongest possible action to protect the Australian community. But what we don't want to do is to make any Australian feel merely by virtue of religion, culture, ethnicity, that person is a stranger in his own country or a second-class citizen.
Look, I know we want
that.
I don't want to get off this. There's just one final thing, though, and I made this point before here. I mean, people watch people walking up the street and they've got a T-shirt on which says, "Kill for my brothers." What the hell are they meant to make of this? They say, well, our government obviously cops this. No one sanctions these people. No one arrests them. It's all okay. I mean, Australians can't stand that.
And Alan, look, I don't think T-shirts like that should be worn. I think they are dangerous to social harmony and cohesion, and certainly that's the kind of thing that I would like to see looked at by the sorts of bodies which we have in our community to try to promote decency and harmony and toleration in our society.
Well, Prime Minister, I appreciate that. Can I just turn to some domestic issues? Because I think we'll need to do that at some stage. Now, with the budget, you can't just say groan. It's pretty important to every Australian.
You worn everyone out talking about this.
Well, I haven't even begun.
Here's your chance. Get into it. Go on.
I'm a very calm and patient person. Now, obviously, this budget, you're saying that it's absolutely critical that you get it through, that Australia's in all sorts of strife down the track with debt, if not today. I'm just wondering, if you're only going to get a small percentage through, and the more I read, suggests to me you might be lucky to get a quarter of your cuts through, does that mean you absolutely would have to go to a double dissolution? Because if it's that critical, you couldn't just let it go.
2 points, Richo. The first point is that we are determined to get the budget through. That's the first point. We are determined to get the budget through. Second point is that I'm confident that we will get it through. We may not get it through the first time or even the second time, but I think we will get it through. And you've seen in various governments that sometimes it does take a while to get parts of the budget through both houses of Parliament. We are determined to get this budget through because while I absolutely accept, Graham, that there are some very tough elements in this budget, it is absolutely necessary that we get the debt and deficit disaster that we inherited under control. This budget does so. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about fairness. Well, I tell you, there is nothing fair in saddling our children and our grandchildren with tens of thousands of dollars in Commonwealth debt per head that they have to help repay. There's nothing fair about that. There's nothing fair about the $1 billion every single month that the Commonwealth taxpayers are paying in interest alone now.
I agree with all that. I agree with that, even if Richo may not. But if I could just come back to Richo's very valid point, he's saying, well, what happens if it isn't passed? Now, I was just looking at some attitudes today, and I understand that on the fuel excise increase, there's none of the Palmer Party, Nick Xenophon, John Madigan, Lion Helm, Bob Dale, Ricky Muir will support that. So unless you've got phenomenal powers of persuasion over them, it's in trouble. On the GP co-payment, the Palmer Party says no, Xenophon says no, two others unsure. So on the figures as they now stand, you're struggling. On the paid parental leave, they're all saying no. And on the direct action on climate change, they're all saying no. Now, you're talking to I understand Clive Palmer at some stage this week. Are you convinced that you can persuade no's to become yeses?
Well, in some cases, yeses have become no's, and if yeses can become no's, no's can become yeses. People can change their mind. But the point I'll be making to everyone, the Labor Party included, because you've left them out of that analysis, Alan, the point I'll be making to everyone is, what is their plan to tackle Labor's debt and deficit disaster? We've come up with our plan. I think it's a good plan, a fair plan. I think it's a doable plan. And in the absence of any suggestions from anyone else, it's the only plan. And the one thing that ought to be crystal clear is that we just cannot continue to go on as we did go on for the 6 years of the former government.
But Prime Minister, whether this is a good plan or not, I think you'd have to concede that people got pretty angry after the budget because, and I think the main reason for that was the way that you and Joe Hockey had that sophistry going for a week or so about how you really hadn't broken any promises when absolutely everybody thought you had. Do you regret that? Shouldn't you have just said what you've said to us now? Shouldn't you have just come out and said, look, I know we said we'd do this, we can't do that now, we've had to change our mind because of the seriousness of the situation, and here it is. Don't you regret that?
Well, I'm not going to play word games with people, Richo.
Well, you did that. That's the problem.
Well, look, we said that we would tackle the debt and deficit disaster. We said we'd get the budget back under control. We never said it would be easy. And the point about this budget is that it is tough, sure, difficult, sure, but it is the right budget for these times. And that's the point that I will be making from this day until we secure all of this, that we had to tackle the debt and deficit disaster. That's what we were elected to do. It was never going to be easy. This is the plan we've put forward.
Can I just ask you something that's absolutely mundane, which I cannot understand, relating to you and to your predecessors? There are people out there watching you now who have been asked to be the godfather to a child, whether it's an uncle or whatever, and they think the nicest way they can do something for the godchild is to put $5,000 in little Billy Abbott's account from the day he was born. $5,000. Now Billy Abbott's 1 day old, and they say, well, that account is not touched. What right does any government have to put their hands on that money under the Gillard government after 3 years, under the Howard government after 7, and then to justify doing it, saying, oh, well, you know, the account might sort of have been forgotten and lost and we've got to retrieve it? Why don't you say, as Tony Abbott, this is not our business to be touching people's money? Gillard's pulled $360 million out of money that doesn't belong to her. Shouldn't you say, knowing Tony Abbott as I know him, this is not our business. If we put money in Billy Abbott's account, the government has no right to put its hands on it ever.
Alan, I agree with your sentiments, and we ferociously opposed this when the former government put it up. But we cannot fix every disaster created by the former government instantly. This is one of those things that we do want to change, we do want to fix, and we can't fix it just yet.
Sorry to interrupt you, Matthias Cormann says, no, sorry, Tony, Matthias Cormann says we don't agree with 3, because he was on the program the other day, we don't agree with 3, but after 7 years, after 7, we'll take the money. Wouldn't you just say, leave the money alone? If Billy Abbott loses his dough in bank charges, so be it for little Billy Abbott. But it's not the business of government.
Well, the Howard government had a 7-year rule, and
I know.
That was something that obviously I was prepared to tolerate some time ago, and I'm certainly prepared to give you the commitment, Alan, that as soon as we can, we will change the 3-year rule. If I could just take your metaphor, what the current government has done to little Billy Abbott is not put $5,000 in his bank account, he's given him $25,000 worth of debt. That's what the former government did to every single Australian. It saddled them with the cumulative $25,000 worth of Commonwealth debt per man, woman and child. That's why we have to do tough things in this budget to restore the fiscal situation.
Prime Minister, we're going to wrap this up, so I'll just ask you one last question. Given your last answer, why do you ban on with the paid parental leave? You've got to save all this money, you're spending billions on it, and the reality is one baby gets 50,000, another one gets 30,000. If I want 60 grand a year, I can't handle the fact that somebody's getting 50,000 almost my entire wage to have a baby. I mean, you must understand how unfair that looks.
But Richo, it's not about the baby, it's about the parent. And if the parent is earning $50,000, the parental leave should be at $50,000. If the parent is earning $70,000, the parental leave should be at $70,000, just as their holiday pay, their sick pay, their long service leave is at their pay. And the unfairness at the moment is that right now public servants get paid parental leave at their wage, and most of the employees of small and medium-sized businesses in our suburbs, in our regions, in our country towns, they don't. So I just want the same fairness which is currently extended to public servants to extend to the whole community.
Well, but PM, who am I to argue with a Prime Ministerial Rhodes Scholar? But that's the first time I've heard that point being made. I mean, quite the hypocrisy sickens me. You sit in the Parliament opposite Tony Plibersek. She had a baby while she was in Parliament. She's entitled to 52 weeks of maternity leave. She's entitled to full pay for 14 weeks, which I calibrate at almost $50,000 full pay, and most public services around the country have exactly the same scheme. So if Richo wants you to abolish paid parental leave, would you introduce legislation, therefore, to have, in the interest of equity, the public servants go without as well? I'm wondering if that's what Richo wants.
I wouldn't mind the public servants going with less, because I think it's way overdone.
Well,
I'm about fairness, and I don't see much here.
Well, your public service mates are getting it, and you're saying he can't give it to
my
others.
public service mates, and the public servants of Australia, they're much Tony mates of mine.
To listen to you guys arguing, I'm going to say.
Fine point, Tony, the comment about the public service. If they're going to then force you to back off on paid parental leave, that is, the Senate doesn't support it, does that mean that the public service continues to enjoy a largesse which the Senate is denying you the opportunity to provide to others?
Well, this is a fair point, Alan, and I assume that if the Labor Party persists in trying to vote down our paid parental leave scheme, they'll subsequently introduce legislation on their part to take away the existing paid parental leave from public servants. So,
which is waiting for the Senate to come up with the week.
That would be a fair principle. Now, I have to say that the Commonwealth Public Sector Union would be in uproar about this, as indeed would many other unions around the country that are constantly arguing for paid parental leave at people's wages. Now, if it's the employer who pays it, if it's the employer who pays it, for small and medium-sized businesses at least, that's going to be an incentive not to employ women under 40, and I don't think that's a good thing. That's why we've got to do it the way I'm proposing it, not the way that has been done traditionally in other areas.
Professor, I am going to let you go. I've been in my ear to be coming in the last 10 minutes to let you go. Thank you very much for your time. I know we've overstayed our welcome, but I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, PM.
Alan and Richo, thank you so much.
Good on you. Tony Abbott in Canberra. We'll be back in just a moment.